Yo, what's good, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy IronAngel. We're back with another reaction. I did just do a greatest animal encounters reaction video, which was very interesting. Very interesting. Go check it out. I had a lot of questions and some some stuff I saw that very left me wondering what goes through people's minds. Now, this here says top 15 stupid zoo guests. What were they thinking? Oh man, and already seeing it. Like, look at this dude standing in front of a lion. Like, what is he doing? What is the video's already starting off weird with these people. These people are already looking weird. But shout out to this YouTube channel, Top Fives. But yeah, go check them out if you want more videos like this, or if you just want to see it for yourself. But I'm ready to check this out because this dude's standing next to lions, and you see the lion looking away. He's probably trying to mind his own business, but then the dude's just gonna keep standing there. So you know what they say? That's a threat. But let's see. Let's see. Instead of me talking.
This man entered a lion enclosure at a zoo and almost pays for his stupidity with his life. Some people just shouldn't leave the house. Here are the top 15 most
Facts of that.
zoo guests.
Oh, yo.
Number 15, entering a lion enclosure. What's the craziest thing you've ever done after drinking too much? Most of us have a few stories that we're not entirely proud of, but some people completely lose control of their actions. And when they happen to be at a zoo at the time, things can soon become incredibly dangerous. In 2016, guests at the Nehru Zoo Park in Hyderabad, India, were terrified to see a man deciding to cool off in the water, which was 12 feet below the viewing platform of the lion enclosure. Onlookers frantically screamed at him to stay still until park rangers could bring him to safety. But the man ignored their pleas and continued to wade through the water towards the waiting lions. Singing to himself, he tried to shake hands with the lions. Luckily for him, they were completely uninterested. Eventually,
Oh, thank God, yeah.
Lower a pole and hauled him out before handing him over to police, which
Uninterested mean they weren't hungry. That's what that means. Let me just keep it all the way 100 with y'all. They were uninterested, meaning they already ate. I wish he just said that whoever announced it, they just ate already. But you know, the male lion had to go up towards them to make sure his family was protected. But yeah, by the grace of God, he ate already. The family ate already, so he didn't have to hunt. But you know good and well if they was hungry, he wouldn't have been there.
charged him with various offenses under the Wildlife Protection Act.
Oh yeah, charge that dude. What is he doing?
He jumped in was the lions' feeding time, so when the keepers called out to them, they knew they were about to be fed.
See, I knew it. I knew it.
Almost certainly attacked the man, and jail time would have been the least of his concerns.
He deserved that jail
They
time.
were so well trained, because if he had done this in virtually any other zoo, even the thought of a big juicy steak wouldn't be enough to deter their natural instinct to hunt.
Facts. That's facts.
Number 14, retrieving a hat. When you're on a day out in hot weather, you need to make sure you're adequately protecting yourself from the sun. This can be done by applying lotion or wearing a hat, but the risks of being sunburned are far less than what might happen if you're confronted by a ferocious wild animal. In 2016,
just something for y'all to know about me. I love cats. I love lions, tigers, cheetahs, all that. I'm a huge fan. I mean, I got it as a tattoo. I got a lion as a tattoo, but I'm a huge fan. And I'm also a huge fan of leaving them alone. Let them have their space. Don't bother them. You know, I'm that kind of dude. But that's my favorite animal of all time. Any kind of cat.
a visitor to the Toronto Zoo was faced with a dilemma when her hat was caught by a gust of wind and blew beyond a safety fence. Instead of forgetting about it and buying a new one from the zoo's gift shop, she decided to jump over the fence to retrieve it. Problem was, this meant she had entered the tiger enclosure. And despite there being a second fence that separated her from the big cats, it was still too close for comfort. Sensing a potential meal, one of the tigers lunged towards her, and she could have very easily been severely injured. On this occasion, she was able to get her hat and jump back over the fence, with onlookers shouting at her, calling her a moron.
Yes, thank you. Because I'm trying to be nice on this channel. I'm glad that he's saying it and the people are saying it. That's a straight moron, bro. A hat is that serious? It's really that serious. I'm being extra nice right now, being recorded, but I would have called her that too. What's your problem? You can't buy another one, or just don't have a hat. If you can't afford a hat, because everybody's money is a little different. I'm not judging that, but if you can't afford a hat, leave it. I'm glad they said that. The people said she was a moron. Thank you.
It ended very differently. Zoo officials were unaware of what happened until videos were shared online later that day, and immediately launched an investigation to find eyewitnesses so they could ban the woman from visiting again.
Yes.
Potentially launch legal action against her for recklessness. Number 13. Skinny dipping. Aquariums are a great place to see the wonders of marine life from around the world in a safe and controlled environment. But there are some people who feel like several inches of reinforced perspex doesn't allow them to get as close to the animals as they would like. In 2018, a man from British Columbia was visiting the Ripley's Aquarium in Toronto when he decided to strip naked and take a plunge in one of the tanks. The problem was, this wasn't a tank full of harmless fish, but was the venue's main attraction that was full of sharks. Frightened guests saw him splashing about while these giant beasts swam around beneath him, and security guards...
Maybe I missed it, but I was about to say he probably was drinking a lot. Maybe he said that. Maybe I missed that part of this guy, but you must be drunk or high or something, on something, for you to do something like that. Because there are some people who do stupid things for attention, but diving into a water with sharks like that, you must be drunk or high or something like. Just you had to be one of them.
Were soon on the scene. They told him to leave, but just as it looked as if he was about to do as he was asked, he did a backflip into the water and swam around for a few more minutes before leaving for good. According to the aquarium, their policy is not to detain guests who are willingly leaving the building. But he was soon picked up by police who have linked him to another crime that had been committed earlier in the evening.
Oh, so this dude was a natural offender.
Panda. Bears are notoriously dangerous animals, and usually are much larger than people, with sharp claws and ferocious temperaments. Panda bears, however, are surprisingly small and appear to be quite docile, which is probably why people tend to think they're much safer to be around.
I thought they were safe animals. I thought you could be around pandas. I mean, this is something new for me.
That's not necessarily the case, however, as a visitor to the Nanchang Zoo in Jiangxi Province, China, found out in 2016.
Oh, did he rip his leg off?
Identified as Chen had seen the panda called Mei Ling asleep in its enclosure, so he decided to lower himself to get a closer look at the animal.
Don't wake him up.
He exhibit and waved at Mei Ling, but failed to get a response. He decided to get even closer and touch the bear, and it was at this point that it woke up. The bear then proceeded to wrestle the man in an attempt to protect itself.
Oh my goodness!
Overwhelmed by how powerful it proved to be.
Yeah,
The man manages to free himself from the clutches of the bear, escaped the enclosure, and after a medical examination, was found to be uninjured.
Wow.
As to why he decided to do this in the first place,
That's
he
crazy.
said he had visited the zoo with 2 female companions and was simply trying to show them how brave he was.
You couldn't find any other way to impress the ladies. You couldn't find any other way to impress the ladies. Imagine if that bear ripped your leg off. You gonna go to the ladies and hope they get their number? Sorry, it's just that thought crossed my mind. That's a funny thought. He walking, trying to hop with one leg. So can I have one of y'all numbers? And it'll be so bad. They'd be like, no, you cannot have my number. But really, is it that serious to impress some ladies? To impress anybody? Stuff people do for attention.
Number 11. Child in a gorilla enclosure.
Oh, I've seen this story.
Zoos between keeping the animals safely inside their enclosures while letting visitors get close enough to see them. And on occasions, this has led to some frightening situations. One of the most famous took place in August of 1986 at the Durrell Wildlife Park on the island of Jersey in the Channel Islands.
I've seen this story.
Found himself inside the gorilla enclosure. 5-year-old Levin Merritt had been playing and climbing on a wall above the enclosure while his parents were looking elsewhere.
Looking elsewhere, you was not paying attention at all. If the child was if the child was able to get over there like that, you wasn't paying attention at all. You wasn't just looking for a second. You was not even giving the kid any attention. And I don't care what if I don't care what people say. If the child is over the gate, that means nah. You can't tell me you was distracted a little bit. Nah, you was looking and you just wasn't paying attention to your child. I'm sorry. That stuff bothers me, y'all. It really bothers me to see parents put their kids in harm's way. That really, that's I hate that.
He slipped.
I'm stuttering. Sorry.
The concrete floor, and in the process was knocked unconscious. Crowds gasped as Jambo the gorilla moved towards the boy. But amazingly, instead of attacking like everyone expected, he stood over the boy to protect him from other gorillas in the enclosure. Jambo
That's
had
a
never
grace
seen
of
a
God
human
moment.
child up close like this before, but his protective instincts kicked in. At one point, he even
That's
stroked
a
the boy's
big-
back to try to make sure he was doing okay.
That's a
When
big
Merritt awoke and
dude,
cried out
bro.
for help, the gorillas all backed off, so a paramedic and zookeepers could enter and rescue him. Needless to say, the owners of the zoo installed new safety perimeters so this couldn't happen again. But if someone's intent on entering an enclosure that contains dangerous animals, there's very little anyone can do to stop them.
No, yeah. That was a grace of
Number
God
10,
moment.
swimming with polar bears.
Excuse me.
Zoos install
Swimming
safety
with polar
barriers and warnings to prevent people from coming face to face with the dangerous animals that they have on show. Sometimes there's nothing you can do to combat stupid.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. There are just some people where there's nothing you can do. They just want to be dumb. That's why I said this in the last video. There's some people, like, when you're in a situation like that, you put yourself in a situation like that, I have very little sympathy for you. Very little. Very little. Because you did that. What makes you think that's cool? Like, I don't want, like I said it before, I don't want nobody hurt or dead. But if something happens to you, I'm not I'm not crying for you either. Yeah, I'm glad he said that. Shout out to this guy. Wait, let me like this video. I'm sorry, top 5 if you see this. Actually, I gotta go back and like that other video too I reacted to, so I'm glad I remembered.
Clearer than what happened at the Berlin Zoo in 2009, when a woman decided to take her life into her own hands by going for a swim in the polar bear enclosure. It was feeding time and 6 keepers were in around the area about to drop pieces of meat in for the bears. But for some reason, the 32-year-old thought that this was the opportune moment to leap over a fence, a line of prickly hedges, and a wall to reach the water. She swam directly towards the bears and was excited as she did so, but she soon realized her mistake.
Oh
One
my
of the bears
goodness,
bit
bro.
her a number of times on her arm and her
Yeah.
leg before the
And you
keeper.
realize she did that, excuse me, you realize she did that on feeding time? That's the worst time to do it. You shouldn't do it, period, but you did it on feeding time. Yeah, of course that bear was biting. He was like, oh, is this the food? We got something new?
Were able to push it back and lower a rope to pull her free. Just as she appeared to be safe, she fell from the harness back into the water, and the bears began to approach her again. But luckily, on the second attempt, she was lifted to safety. It was never clear why she did this, but after weeks in the hospital to recover from her injuries, it's unlikely she'll be in too much of a hurry to do it again.
Are people drunk or high or something? I
Leave
just
your
don't.
Car. Drive-through safari
what?
parks are popular visitor attractions around the world. And while you're probably all too aware of the risks that your windscreen wipers may be stolen by mischievous monkeys, or that you might encounter a curious lion that walks over to your vehicle.
Yeah, see, that's the one thing that makes me nervous about doing a safari run or something like that whenever I go to Africa to see animals. I need a vehicle that's metal all over, like a regular van. I couldn't do. Hold up.
You're probably all
I couldn't do that because yeah, like the guy said, lion could just jump up. No, that's too dangerous, bro.
Aware of the risks that
I need that
windscreen
protected.
wipers may be stolen by mischievous monkeys, or that you might encounter a curious lion. That
Yeah,
walks
that's
over
too
your
much
vehicle.
openness right there.
One of
That
the
thing
most
come up and
obvious
hit
safety
you immediately.
precautions at places like these is that you should stay inside your car at all times.
Duh, like what
French
idiot?
families seemingly missed this piece of advice on visiting the Bergen Safari
And
Park near
there's
the Dutch
that
city.
bothers me, bro. Why is there a child, bro? Like really, like that. It's not only stupid for an adult to do that, but you put a child in that situation, bro. That stuff makes me mad, bro. Like why? That's a little kid too. It's not even like a teenager.
In 2018. However, as video footage shows them and their children leaving their car to get a closer look at the cheetahs, the cats suddenly leap up when they spot the stupid guests and begin to prowl around them to plan their attack.
Yeah,
The
that's
family are
their
surrounded
job.
by the cheetahs and realize the danger they put themselves in.
Dude, look at
They
this.
run back to the safety of their car before the wild animals moved in for the kill. The safari park owners said they were extremely lucky to have made.
Look at that. Look. What are you go like? What do you do in that situation? All you can do is pray. The cheetah got you. And the idiot, sorry, I gotta say that because the idiot has a little child. So she's holding the child. So that has child to be like 2 or 3 years old. Is holding, you put your child in that situation. What do you do in that spot? You have no weapons. They tell you don't get out the car. That's a long way from from that spot to the car. The cheaters you're not going anywhere. That's a 2-piece meal. You and your child. And the other one, even though he's closer to the door, he could make it, but they're good. They got those two. What do you do in that situation besides pray? You can scream at it. That ain't gonna do nothing. And then the dumbest, I hate that, is you put a child in that situation. And these are stories you be hearing on the news of such and such died. It was in this area. And then you see why. It's like, oh, because they were stupid and then put their child in stupid territory. Child did not ask to be in your stupidity.
Made it out alive. And even though guests are told in several languages that they must stay in their vehicles, there's still a few each year that take a risk like
Look at this. And
we are constantly adding more people to the top 5 production
crazy,
team
bro.
to bring you all
it's crazy.
the best
Like,
content.
I just
Be
don't
sure
understand, bro.
with notifications
I don't
on,
understand. Like, that's a
hit the
little
like
kid
button.
you put in there.
Number 8, throwing snowballs. Despite the best efforts by zookeepers
Oh,
and most
no.
owners, there's no escaping the fact that containing animals within artificial enclosures is inherently unfair to the creatures, and it's no substitute for the lives they would have had in the wild. Quite often, they'll sit around without much to do. Things are only made worse when idiotic guests decide to try to encourage them to do something.
I like this guy. Idiotic
This
guess.
was
Use those
recorded
words.
at the lion enclosure at Amsterdam Zoo. The stunning cats are minding their own business when a group of visitors begins throwing snowballs at them. Unsurprisingly, this riles the lions, who leap up into an aggressive posture. Not just because they're being tormented, but because
that's
snow
threatening.
isn't exactly something.
That's threatening and bullying. Yes, bullying. You can bully animals. You idiots. I'm glad he said that. What? And you feel all big and tough because you got a protection around you. Do that. Well, no, don't do it. But I wonder if you would have gotten bold enough to do it in the open wild. Of course you wouldn't. Unless you're drunk and high like some of these people who was in the middle of all that situation. But yeah, you idiots. Like, that's straight up bullying, bro.
They're used
Some
to
people
coming
just get
into
on my
contact
nerves,
with.
man.
When they realize there's nothing they can do to prevent attack, the lions start to huddle together to protect each other. It's a horrific example of how stupid people can be when visiting a zoo.
Stupid.
And is
Thank you.
definitely not appropriate behavior.
Thank you. Let me, I hit the like button. I'm gonna do it again.
Jaguar Selfie.
That dude, I love what he's saying.
Instagram and the fact that we all now have powerful cameras on our smartphones, it's rare to go anywhere without seeing someone taking a selfie. But sometimes the quest for the perfect image can put you in danger. In March of 2019, a visitor to the Wildlife World Zoo in Arizona learned this the hard way after jumping over a protective barrier to take a photo of herself with a jaguar in the background. There was still a fence between her and the animal, which she stupidly believed would mean she was safe.
I
But
bet
the
his
big
paw.
cat had other ideas. As she turned her back on it, it swiped its paw through the gap in the fence and slashed her arm, leaving huge gashes. Onlookers helped to distract the jaguar.
I said this in the last video. You don't want to turn your back. You don't want to do that. Like, some take that as a threat, some take that as disrespect, and some do it, take it as you just trying to play around. But are you willing to take that chance? House cats don't like when you do that. I just know that from experience. Every time I mess with, like, my friend's cat or family's cat, I would play around and turn my back just to see what it does, and it jumps right on me. That's just how they're made, bro. Most of them.
To make it let go of her, but by that time the damage had been done. She was rushed to the hospital to be treated, while the zoo sent their prayers to her family for her quick recovery. The owner said in an interview that there's no way to fix people going over barriers if they don't realize that they're there for a reason.
You idiots. I wish you said that again.
Throwing rocks.
Oh,
Pandas
no.
are notoriously lazy creatures, and if you ever see one in a zoo, the chances are it won't be moving around much, and will spend most of its time sitting in one position. This can be frustrating for excited guests, however, and some decide to take things into their own hands to make things more interesting. In this footage, which was recorded in Beijing Zoo in 2019, instead of shouting at the bear, which would have been bad enough, 2 guests started pelting the panda with rocks to try to wake it up. According to the person who filmed it, the first person threw smaller rocks, and the second person, who was not caught on camera, threw larger pieces over the space of 30 minutes.
Stupidity,
Fortunately,
bro.
on this occasion, the panda wasn't injured at all and continued on with its usual daily routine.
Thank
There's
God.
no way the culprits could have known that that would be the case. By the time the zoo found out about it, it was too late to track them down and punish them. But anyone caught doing something like this is rightfully charged and imprisoned for animal cruelty.
Absolutely. I agree. That's
Number
people
5,
are crazy.
etching names on a rhinoceros.
Oh, come
Ever
on,
since
bro. Really?
humans have been able to write, they've been obsessed with etching their names onto things. Graffiti has been found on Roman ruins and even older structures that prove this is true. But have you ever heard of someone carving their name into a living animal? That's what an idiotic couple decided to do in 2019.
I love this guy.
At the
Idiotic.
Palmer Zoo in southwestern France. Officials noticed something unusual about one of the rhino's backs, and upon closer inspection found the names of Camille and Julien.
How did they even do that?
Dirt and flaky skin. The zoo has an exhibit where guests can get close to the animals. with just
Right,
a
how do
small
they do
barrier
that?
between them, so they can stroke them and really get a feel for what the animals are like. But the idea of marking one of them like this is unforgivable. The zoo said in a statement that they were outraged by the stupidity and disrespect shown by the two visitors.
Thank
And
you.
while they wouldn't be prosecuting them, they wouldn't be welcome back. As for the words that had been left on the Rhino, it was nothing that a scrub with a brush couldn't remove.
Still though,
Probably completely unaware
that's still
that it had been
disrespect,
done
bro.
in the
It
first
doesn't
place.
matter if you can wipe it off or not.
Number 4, man versus spider monkeys. Brazil is home to some of the most
Yo.
biodiverse.
I remember being taught this: spider monkeys are not to be messed with, bro. There's some that play around, not them at all. I've heard they got these claws that can rip your face right off. So I don't know. I always was warned: be careful of spider monkeys.
Regions in the world. And you'd think that if anyone was aware of how dangerous some animals can be and the importance of respecting them, then it would be the people who have grown up there. It seems, though, that alcohol causes all knowledge of this to disappear. And in 2011, a man was caught on camera doing something incredibly stupid.
Drink responsibly, people.
João Leite de Santos was a mechanic from Sao Paulo. Later admitted he had been drinking all day before visiting the nearby Sorocaba Zoo, but had no memory of what happened when he got there. On the video, he's seen climbing over a fence, jumping into a pool, and then swimming towards a group of spider monkeys in the enclosure. These animals are definitely not as friendly as they may seem.
Oh yeah.
They gathered by the water's edge and started reaching out for him.
I don't think they're trying to save him.
They were trying to rescue him from the
Yeah,
water.
nah.
The man gets even closer, but when he's within reach, one of the monkeys sunk its teeth into his wrist, and another started biting his shoulder and arm. Unbeknownst to him, spider monkeys are highly territorial. He felt threatened the moment he had crossed the fence. Realizing he'd made a huge mistake, Dos Santos headed back towards the fence, where several zookeepers helped to pull him to safety and administered medical assistance. The bites were so severe that he was taken to hospital to be treated, and police began building a case to charge him for reckless behavior.
Yeah, we don't care you drinking. That's your fault.
Number 3, Chinese peacocks.
That's your fault, man.
Peacocks are some of the most beautiful birds you'll find anywhere in the world.
I agree.
Huge plumes of feathers that branch out when they're trying to attract a mate. With such stunning patterns, people often like to collect the feathers, but usually this is only done by searching for ones that have fallen off naturally.
Oh,
In
don't tell
2018,
me.
however, a group of tourists who were visiting the Zuyuan Zoo in Jiangsu, China, did something unimaginable. They jumped into the peacock enclosure and started to pluck feathers from 4 of the birds. They removed so many that the peacocks hardly had any left by the end
Oh
of the
my
ordeal.
goodness
They
gracious.
were bleeding profusely from where they had been attacked. Fortunately, none of them died as a result. They were quickly taken from the enclosure to a quarantine facility where they were treated and began to recover.
The birds are bleeding. Is it that serious for some feathers? Let them. You just messed up their flow, bro. You just heard the guy. They do that stuff, with their wings. They show that for mating to try to impress the females, and you just messed up their opportunity. And they're bleeding, so they're in pain. All for some feathers that you want. I like I said in the last video, some things people do I just don't understand. And people are like, the guy says it perfectly. Some people are just idiots and stupid. Some people are. You just got to accept. There's some people, some are ignorant, like they just don't know, and then there's just some that are just stupid. In this case, this is just straight up stupid. This is straight up dumb.
In a worrying twist, one of the managers from the zoo said this wasn't the first time someone had tried to do this, and there simply weren't enough staff to keep an eye on people's behavior all the time. This particular enclosure had 41 peacocks with just 3 members
Man.
of staff assigned to look after them, which is
41.
nowhere near enough to make sure they are safe with so little fencing to separate people from them.
That is beautiful though, how those peacocks
Number
look.
2, kidnapping a penguin. Penguins are undoubtedly
Why are you
some
messing
of
with
the
Happy
coolest
Feet?
birds
Like
on
what in the
Earth.
world?
Because they usually
Hey, what
live
are
in
you
such
doing?
hostile or difficult to reach environments, the only places people are normally able to see them is in a zoo. The fact that they seem so happy to be in artificial enclosures is misleading, because they'd much prefer to be in the open ocean. But their overall happy appearance means that not only are they one of the most popular exhibits at the zoo, but people also often think they'd make for great pets, and would be fine if they were around people. In 2012, after an evening of heavy drinking, two
Drinking,
Welsh
of
friends
course.
who were
Drink
traveling through
responsibly,
Australia
people.
thought
Come
it would
on
be
now.
funny to try to rescue one of the penguins from the SeaWorld on Queensland's Gold Coast. They brazenly broke into the venue with a local after attending a nearby beach party. And then the 3 of them started by swimming in a pool with dolphins. Once they got out, they found a fire extinguisher, which they set off in the shark tank, and then they turned their sights on the penguins. They carefully entered the enclosure and caught a 7-year-old fairy penguin called Dirk and took it home with them. According to statements that were filed during their prosecution, the friends woke up the next morning with the penguin in their apartment and had no memory of how it had got there. They tried to look after it by feeding it and putting it in the shower to keep it wet, but once they realized how difficult this would be, they tried to set the penguin free in a nearby canal. Thankfully, a group of locals saw
They ain't trying to go to
and
jail.
heard of the incident at the aquarium, so they called the police, who quickly arrested the men.
That sounds like that movie Hangover. I don't know if y'all seen that. But like how they just took the tiger, then they woke up and didn't know what just happened, but the tiger's right with them. That's what this reminded me
They
of.
made sure the penguin was returned safely to its enclosure. The two men were then charged for trespassing and theft and were fined $1,000 each, which is the equivalent of around 720 US dollars.
Hey, that's light punishment, bro. They better be happy.
Taipei lion enclosure. While they aren't the largest species of cat in the world, lions have somewhat of a reputation for being some of the most dangerous and unpredictable ones.
Yes.
So probably the last animals you'd want to willingly enter a cage with, especially without any experience or protective equipment. In 2004, though, a man in Taiwan did possibly the stupidest thing to ever take place in a zoo by doing just that. He had been visiting Taipei Zoo and, according to eyewitness reports, seemed to become possessed and intent on converting the lions to Christianity. He jumped over the fence into the enclosure and started shouting.
Oh, goodness. Oh, my goodness, bro. And this is coming from a Christian. God is not telling you to preach to a lion. Possessed? Yeah, you're possessed, all right, but it ain't by God. Just because you throw God's name out there in Christianity does not mean God sent you. He is not sending you to teach a lion. Like I said, I have little sympathy for people doing dumb stuff, whether if you're a Christian or not. Because that does nothing to do with this. I guarantee you he has some kind of mental problem. But of course, he's using Christianity for his work, apparently, whatever he's doing, this guy, in front of this lion. Of course it is. Of course it has something to do with Christianity, bro. That's just, I hate seeing stuff like that. Like, as a Christian, it's like, this is not what we're supposed to be doing. We're not supposed to be preaching or being an example to animals. We're supposed to leave them alone, let them handle their business. Look how the lion, like in this pause, look how this lion's looking. He has like that side eye. He's like, you gonna leave me alone? And I bet you, I hope he's safe after this. We're about to find out. Maybe it was feeding time like that last incident. But let's see. God is not telling you to teach to an animal. Stop it. I'm not gonna get into the, all this stuff, but I'm just saying. Of course. But I bet you he has some kind of mental problem. Or drunk.
The two cats, a lion.
Wait. He's probably drunk, high, or some kind of mental something.
Converting the lions to Christianity. He jumped over the fence into the enclosure and started shouting towards them that Jesus would save them. The two cats, a lion and a lioness, ignored him at first, but this just made him try harder. He started asking them to bite him, and eventually they did just that. They leapt towards him, attacked his right arm, and tore his clothes to pieces. Amazingly, the zookeepers were on the scene quickly and were able to deter the lions with water hoses and tranquilizer darts, and they were able to get the man to safety. Despite the ordeal, he somehow managed to get away with just minor injuries to his arm and leg, something the keepers said happened because the lions had only just been fed. If they were...
I knew it. It was feeding time already. By the grace of God, you've been saved. Come on, man. It's like, let's say the lions killed him and he went up and he died to see God, to see the Lord, and Jesus looking at him like, oh, I was doing your work, Lord. I was trying to teach the animals. This is the look I can see Jesus giving you. For those who are Christians, no, you're not doing God's work, teaching the animals. You better be glad God helped you by not letting you die. But he has to be drunk or something.
When the man entered, there's no deal. He somehow managed to get away with just minor injuries to his arm and leg, something the keepers said happened because the lions had only just been fed. If they were hungry when the man entered, there's no chance he would have made it out alive.
No chance.
Investigations into the man found that he was a patient at a psychiatric hospital called Cheng Chong Ho, and it's like...
There we go. That explains it. He was a mental patient. That makes total sense. That makes total sense, bro. Come on. Like, I've heard some things, like, as a Christian, I've heard some things that other Christians have done that's not smart, that God has not told you to do. I'm not going to go into those subjects because that's not for this video. But this is beyond that. And like I said, I've heard some dumb things. I've heard some dumb things in my community of Christians. I've heard dumb things in that. This is a whole different level, but he's a mental patient. That makes total sense.
they were hungry when the man entered, there's no chance he would have made it out alive. Investigations into the man found that he was a patient at a psychiatric hospital called Cheng Chong Ho, and it's likely he was suffering from a delusion that made him believe he was living a real-life version of the story of Daniel in the lion's den.
Oh my goodness.
Perhaps it truly was a miracle that he survived, or that he was just extremely lucky.
It was a miracle.
Subscribe to Top 5.
Wow, man. People. Some are drunk. Some are, mental patients. And some are just plain stupid. I don't know. The one thing that really triggered me, though, out of everything that happened here, was the parent who decided to take her and her kid out of the car when they told you not to get out the car. And you got swarmed by cheetahs. And if the cheetah didn't stop, you would have been dead. That really triggered me because that's a child you put in harm's way. Like, come on, man. Be better. Like, I'm not gonna get into the whole teaching thing. But anyway, let me know what is out of these, what was the one that really made you mad to see? The Christian one, that was just, it was like, oh my goodness, because when you believe in something, you hate when other people give you a bad rep. You know what I'm saying? But I don't base myself off of other people, so what other people do is none of my business. That's why I said the one that really made me mad was the lady who took their child in harm's way. But let me know out of the 15 things here, what was the one that really made you feel like, really? But anyway, shout out to Top 5s. I'm about to check out their YouTube channel. Check them out, y'all. Check them out. They put a lot of work into it and research from the looks of it. But yeah, thank y'all so much for tuning in. This stuff is interesting. But anyway, I love y'all. Thank y'all for watching with me. Catch you on the next video.